Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, you already know. Right now, I'm coming to you with a video that I thought I should do, long overdue. It's, I guess a topic of it is going to be about, gaming, or like remembering your roots for gaming. So, lately I've been thinking about making these like videos talking about, like things of the past that we tend to forget. Like, I kind of want to go through a couple of different topics, like maybe start doing more in-depth video game review, or like more like discuss certain like controversial topics in games or something like that. Like, I just kind of want to start some conversations going between us, you know what I mean? And I noticed that the first step that I need to do in order to do that is to open myself up to you guys. Now that's very hard for me to do. I don't like remembering my past all that much. There are many reasons for that. So, to the point that it's taken maybe 2.5 years for me to start even making this video. Like, it's been in my mind for a long time, and I'm just like, I don't really want to do this, I don't want to open up. That sounds lame. But I figured in order for me to try and get my audience a little more, involved in maybe discussions or what I want to talk about, I have to give a little in to get a little out. You know what I mean? So, law of equivalent exchange, right? I somewhat follow that from a bartering perspective. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got into games from the beginning, not RPGs. I know I've answered the question that how I've gotten into RPGs before, but I haven't talked about, like, in depth, or at least maybe how I got into video games. And I do have to talk about it at some point. Like, people don't know where that came from. Maybe you're not interested, I don't know, but I still feel like I have to discuss that situation or that memory. So, a little disclaimer, it might be parts where I just start to derail a little bit, so don't be alarmed by that, it's probably my own way of, like, trying to fucking reconnect to the story somehow. I don't know. I tend to do that a lot, so I hope that doesn't throw you off. So let's begin, I guess, because I think the purpose of this is to understand where we all come from. Like, a lot of stuff lately has made me realize that, we're in a generation where I think people just aren't appreciative of games anymore, or appreciative of the work that developers have done for us in the past. And I feel like we're a little too demanding, a little too hypercritical of things, and I feel like we need to go back to those days and see what it is that brought us here in the first place, and also at the same time, give a little credit to, times of the past, and, maybe stop trying to compare things to everything from back then, or, compare everything to a certain, like, really novelty game or novelty idea. I think we just need to, take a step back and just, humble ourselves and, learn to be a little patient. I mean, I know our lives are all short and we're not going to be here forever, but that's no excuse to act like jerks, especially to developers that, put a lot of time. Like, a lot of people probably aren't even aware of all of the behind the scenes actions that these developers go through, like the programmers, the musicians that work on the game, the actual, like, coders and developers and writers that, work on the story and all that stuff, and the characters. Like, sure, they're not perfect, they're not the best. I'm not saying that we should always excuse something that's bad or something like that, but, like, at the same time, understand that, your only role as a consumer is to buy the product and to, I guess, enjoy it. You know what I mean? That's your job as not even job. That's your responsibility. That's what you're doing. And honestly, like, we have it easy because all we're doing is experiencing the journey. And, a lot of the times I more or less, I connect more with, Japanese RPGs. Everyone in my channel knows that that's what I do. That's my favorite genre, is Japanese role-playing games. Like, I don't mind any other genre. Like, I will play everything. I'm notoriously bad at shooters, though. Like, I will actually lose. Like, I've lost. Listen to how bad I am at shooters. I've actually have lost Dam in the GoldenEye, the original GoldenEye for N64 game. I've lost Dam on the easiest difficulty, and that was me playing it on stream. I've actually have lost in that level. That's how bad I am at shooters. But honestly, I'm gonna John and say that that's the controls for that game that suck. Even my niece has beaten me in certain games for shooting, like one of them being Call of Duty or something. I don't know what she was doing playing it, but anyway, that's beside the point. Let's go back. Let's revisit the past and see where I came from. Let's go back to 1989, the year I was born. You know, I know some of the story because I remember some bits of it, like later down the year, not per se 1989. You know, it's not when memory formed, but I remember a lot of bits of it through my years of playing the games, and a lot of it were pictures, you know, like photo op stuff or things that have been told to me directly. So I'm gonna use all of those points to tell my story. And so back in 1989, I was born, you know. Back then, my father and my mother were together. You know, they were, you know, happy, and, you know, I was happy, I guess. And, you know, times were a little rough because, you know, we're out living outside of the U.S. You know, we're living in a third world country. But, you know, at some point during that year or a little bit into the next year in 1990, I did get my my first ever console, and that was the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, is what I got. And I could actually tell you the first 5 games that I got, and the first 5 games I've ever played in my life. So the first game I ever played was Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt. That was the first one. Then I played karate. I think it was karate or kung fu, whatever the name of the game was for Nintendo Entertainment System. The one where you start as the one karate dude, you punch and you kick and you go left a bunch. And then another stage, you go right a bunch until you fight some bosses. Something like that. It's a very simple game. It's only got like a few stages, but that was the next game I played. The third game I played was Amagon. Like, and a lot of people might know that game because I talk about it every now and again on my channel. You know, I'll bring it up in a video or something. But that was the first game that I played that I never was able to beat. You know, I did for like 20 years. I never beat Amagon because that game was notoriously hard. You know, it had strange controls, it had very strange mechanics, and, you know, just swarmed you with enemies. And, you know, it was a game that you really had to know your stuff, you know. And the fourth game that I played, I believe, was Skate or Die. I think that was the name of it. It's this really cool, like, game on NES where you have, like, you're a skater, but then you could pick, like, these parks or something, or these themes, or these activities to do, and like one of them has you like going through like a skate ramp or something like that, and you have to do tricks or perform certain tricks. One of them is like an obstacle course, you know, it's got a bunch of like different activities and stuff like that. And I had never played anything like that at the time, so I really enjoyed that game, played a lot of it. The last game that I got to play, I don't remember this one. It could have been Dr. Mario, it could have been something else. It actually could have been something else. Actually, I lie. I don't remember the first 5 games, but I remember the first 4. Or it could have been possible that the last game I played wasn't even a game that I owned. Ooh. Oh, now I got you. Now I got your interest. All right. Let me remember something. Right. Okay. So this is how it went. I think the 5th game was a game that I didn't even play at home. I had a neighbor. Well, I had neighbors, and I have several neighbors. Like, just try to picture this area. I'm living in a third world country where the roads aren't really roads. It's filled with dirt and just jagged rocks. That was the main road, jagged rocks. And, you know, we were really poor. We didn't own like shoes and, you know, several clothes. A lot of the time I went outside like half naked, basically, without any shoes, and we went everywhere like that. You know, that was just life. That was everyone. That was not just me. That was everyone. You know, so like we could scarcely own stuff. And at some point I did get to, I was able to be clothed and stuff like that, but it was the norm to like hang out like that. because everyone was like that. You didn't want to be ostracized for being like the kid that may have more than the other kid. So, at some point I would wear sandals, but I'm derailing again. So basically, I would go to my neighbor's house, which was right across the jagged path. And his house was really nice. I knew the family well. The family knew my family well. We got along for many, many years, and they had 3 sons. And I believe it was 3 sons. I don't think I remember hanging much with the other one, but there were 2 of them in particular that I used to like do everything with, like hang out, wrestle, play games, go outside and explore the world, like that kind of stuff. I would go with them and do everything basically. I remember we would jump off roofs, like do flips off roofs, and it's the thing about when you're young, you have no idea of the presence of danger. And like I told you, there were like rocks that were like really jagged and sharp below us, and we would just like flip onto it or onto like the sidewalk that was more stable. And I don't really know how I'm alive, basically, but I just know that with them, I did everything together, right? And they had something called a Super Nintendo. Now, that wasn't the first time I saw it. I'm just letting you know, like, where my gaming developed from. It was like I played with them a lot, and the Super Nintendo I have never seen. I knew that that I had an NES, and I don't think they had that. They had a Super Nintendo. They had Killer Instinct was the first fighting game I ever played, right? Or was it Street Fighter? Holy crap. I think it was KI. I think it was KI. I think I played it before. Yeah. I played it before I played any Street Fighter game, because my first Street Fighter game I ever had was, I think, World Championship on the Sega Genesis. It was New Challengers on Sega Genesis. That's the first one I had. But I played KI with them. I played all kinds of games. But would you believe that even before that, I had another game that I played that would be my 5th game and the most impactful one of all. So that's when I saw a Super Nintendo, like up close and personal. But I didn't play any games there. I just saw it. So like, let me try to run this through your head. So I had 4 games that I played. I had more, I think, but I had 4 games. And at some point, okay. I lied again. Okay, no. Let's say there's 6 games now, and the 6th one was the most impactful. The 5th game that I played was probably be the 4th game or the 3rd. Was a game called it's an NBA game. It was Double Dribble. Yes, I remember that because that game scared the hell out of me as a kid. And the reason it scared me is because the NES had the little flashing light where it would like turn the game on and turn it off and turn it on and turn it off again. So I was aware of that happening as a kid. I didn't understand why it happened, but it was a time when my mother had left to work on the garden or something like that, or to the backyard where we lived. And I was playing the front porch area, and then I had my NES there. I put in Double Dribble. I push it down, and I turn it on. But I think the game thing came back up, like the cartridge came back up, and it was just like Double Dribble, and then turned off. Double Dribble, and I don't know why that voice just scared the hell out of me, but it did, and like traumatized me for a while. And now I just laugh at it because I'm like, wow, I really got scared by that. The things kids get scared by, It's really funny. And that's all because of a lack of understanding. So now that I understand what happened, I just laugh at it. But anyway, enough of that derailing. But that was like, those are my top 5 games that I played when I was young, like beginning. But this 6th game, all right, let's listen to that one. This 6th game, the people that were my neighbors, I saw that they had a SNES. I didn't get to see what they were playing. Like I just back then my eyesight was good, and I saw through like my house during the storm that they were playing like a system that I didn't have. So that was my incentive to go and talk to them and like, learn about what that was. So it was just a curious thing. I was very curious. So I go over to the next area, I go over to them the next day. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I don't even know if it was a day. Like I'm trying to remember. But at some point, I go to their place whenever like I was allowed to leave the house when it wasn't dangerous to leave. And so I go over there, and like, they're not allowed to leave. I think they were punished because they did something stupid or something like that, so they were grounded. And I was like walking around in the neighborhood or something like that, and I know they had an uncle. They had an uncle that I didn't know too much about. And I go around to like the back area, like behind their house, and like all the like there was like a lot of dirt and mud, and just walk around there, get myself dirty and whatever. But like, I would walk around that area a bunch, and his house was always open, like their uncle's house. I don't even know if he was their uncle for real, but like he was associated with the family, and I seen him around, so I like walk into his house. And I see him playing a video game, and I'm like, holy crap, what is this game? So I go inside, and I introduce myself. We like, he introduced himself, and I'm like, oh, how do you know these guys? And I'm like, yeah. It's just a little conversation between a kid and an adult. Yeah, as weird as that sounds. And I just got to like learn more about him, and I was like, hey, I think he's trustworthy. So I go to his house, and like every night. And there's this one game he's playing that he's trying to beat. He cannot beat it. And it's called Super R-Type. That game changed my life. And that person that was playing it changed my life even more. Because, like, up to this point, the adult figures in my life, like, especially the male ones, I've never been reliant on them. They've always disappointed me. And a lot of my, like, pent-up sorrow and frustration comes from that fact. And, I have never known, like, how to forgive that sort of thing. But I have a lot of mercy in my heart. I have a lot of understanding, and I'm not like a very vengeful person, or I'm not one to hold grudges, or if I do, I don't do it for very long. And so, like, growing up, a lot of things revolving around like male figures, I've like just completely jettisoned from my life, and I'm just like, I'm chill with everything now. So I'm really like cool with anything that happened in my past, and all the events. I've just like, forget about it. It's all water under the bridge, right? But like all the female figures in the past, I think have done me more harm, and that comes as a result. I think I've lost the ability to trust females, as odd as that sounds. But I have a hard time trusting like female figures, and it all comes from like shit that happened in my past and like throughout my life and stuff like that. So here I am. I actually do trust males a lot more. So I'm in this dude's house, this adult person who I don't know, this dark figure. And, I'm in his house, and I'm fucking playing video games. And he's the nicest person, like, one of two of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, right? That guy was so unbelievably, like, he's, like, inhumanly nice. Like, when I think about all the memories I have of him and how he was, like, it's just, you don't meet those kind of people here in, like, the States, you know what I mean? Those kind of people are the people you only meet through really humble experiences and outside of the country. Like, in my travels, I haven't met too many people like him. I met people similar, but not to the degree that this guy was. And the reason I say he changed my life is because he really taught me that humility, just vicariously, just through watching him through life experiences. I've learned a lot and picked up a lot just from his demeanor, and I feel like that did a lot for me. So, like, one of the questions I'm asking myself all the time is, what did I learn from that? Did I learn more about how to play video games and the respect for them? Or did I learn more about how to be a better person from this guy? So these things are always waging war in my mind. I never know what the answer is. But anyway, let me get back to the video games aspect of it. So this really awesome individual, like one of the best people I've ever met in my life, and probably that ever existed, ever. This guy's playing a game. He welcomes this strange kid, this very estranged kid that just comes in and like demanding, barking questions about stuff. Hey, what's this? Probably being really obnoxious. I'm actually a really calm kid. Like I was a calm kid, but like I was, thinking back, I was probably obnoxious and, asking about a game when this guy says trying to either go to sleep, get ready for work or whatever. And I'm over here like I barged into his house, basically like Link or something, and I was, questioning him about his properties. So he's like, yo, here, grab a seat. I grab a seat. He's like, yo, watch me play this game. So he's playing R-Type, and like I'm watching the game and I'm learning. So this is why I like Let's Plays or walkthroughs. Like, you can start to form a lot of things about me and why I like them and where they originate from. So this is why I like to watch video games being played by people, because I used to watch him play Super R-Type and get fucking bodied at that game. That game is really hard. Like, I think it was ranked like 7th hardest game in the world at some point. Or was that R-Type 3 or Third Lightning? I don't quite remember, but it was a really hard game. And so we played through it. We played through that game like endlessly and endlessly and endlessly. And then he would pass me the controller and I would play, and I'm like, okay, let me try to get far in this game. So we would like always die at stage 4. I remember like we used to get like messed up at stage 3. Like, he was good enough to beat stage 1 and stage 2, or like hardly beat stage 2 back when I started watching him, and I could barely beat stage 1. And it became a process every day for like a month or maybe more, of just playing and playing and playing. Actually, I think this took place over months. So we just played and played every night, bro. Every single night, I would go to this guy's house and I would play. And I would play and I would play. And he would play, and we would take turns, like, after game overs and shit. And we would try to beat this game. And I'm telling you, this was the best experience, because we bonded so much. We were just like, oh my God, like, that was so close. I'm like, oh, yo, why don't you try to do this over here? Like, we could, like, this guy seems to attack you this way. And like, yo, why don't you go under and use this weapon set or something? And maybe you can use hyperdrive here. And, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. This complete person I did not know, we became like best friends. Can you believe that, yo? A kid, like freaking kid, like 4 years old under, and an adult, like a grown man, like in his 30s or 40s, and we're like really good friends. Like, what is that, right? Yeah, you don't even imagine that. And it all was because of this video game. Well, because I barged into his house that one night and decided to play with him. So that really changed my life. Like, we never did beat the game. Like, we got close. We got up to the final boss. That's as far as we got. I never got that far, but he, with his skills, we were egging him on. Dude, at some point, it became so intense that we had other kids from the neighborhood come in. Like, I actually invited a lot of kids over, and we're like, yo, we're trying to beat this game. Can anyone help us out? At some point, the kids gave up as well. But, like, during that final boss fight, like, we only got there, like, one time, I think. During that final boss fight, it was so intense. We got kids, like, egging him on. We're just like, yo, go, you can do it. Obviously, it's not in English, this is my native tongue. But we're like, yo, go. Like, you can do it. And we're just like, oh my God, like, praying. And we're just like, yo, can we, like, we were so close. Like, we worked so hard for this, And he sadly lost to the boss, so he never did beat it. I don't know if he ever did beat it to this day, but we deemed that the game was a little too hard for us. I like to think that even nowadays he's still playing the game, but actually the story does not end very, very well. I think, it kind of sucks. I don't want to take it down a very dark path, but someone did murder that guy. And it actually really, like, kind of broke my heart, because that was a person I really looked up to. And just to know that there are people that could do that to someone else really opened my eyes, to the nature of the world. So, like, from early on, I learned a lot of things about life. And it was just through a video game, And it took me, like, 22 years to finally beat that game, Super R-Type. Like, I had such repressed memories of what happened during those times, and I didn't want to touch R-Type. I didn't want to touch the series. And I was just like, it reminded me of a time that I would rather forget. Like, there were good moments, but there were also bad moments. And I was like, I need to really, not remember these things anymore. And so, I eventually, like, got strong enough, mentally strong enough at a certain age to be able to just forget about everything. Forget everything and, kind of like an avatar, just open up my chakra and just, let it go, So I let, like, basically every bad thing in my life happened, I just let it go, and that's where my mental fortitude comes from. And now, I finally, after 22 years, feel like I've redeemed him, and I feel like I've walked upon one of the like most insane journeys that I could ever go on. Like in my head, I just feel like I've like saved the world or something. Like that was my world. I feel like I've saved the world. Like it was in such peril, and I like had abandoned all hope, and then I just came back. I met the hero, and the hero inspired me, and I was just like, you know what? I gotta do this. The hero has fallen, and I had to pick up the reins after that. I had to, he passed on the sword to me, and I grabbed the sword, and I slayed the evil, and now I'm successful, I'm victorious, 22 years after the fact, and I'm just like, I finally did it, So, that was a story. At least to me, that was, it's very important in my development and very important for me for how I got into games. That game, like, if I would probably just like, if that event never happened in my life, I probably wouldn't play games that much today. I would probably play it a little bit. Maybe by the age of like 17, 18, I would have just stopped and never played like another video game. Like, knowing me, I could put two and two together. I was into games, but not like that, And then, but like, let's continue the story and go back to like how the other Super Nintendo that was in the mix, like my neighbors. I played KI there, that Super Mario World. They had all these really cool games. Like after all of the stuff with Super R-Type and during the Super R-Type arc, I would play these other games too with my neighbors. I would play and I would just like love video games. I would just love what it came to, how the variety of it, and just how cool the colors were. Like the colors were a major thing of why I loved them. I love the controller, like the SNES controller. Like it's still one of my favorite systems to this day. Love the colorfulness of everything. The fact that you could just like erase everything that you're going through right now and just immerse yourself into a fantasy world and be who you want to be in the game. I think people forget that. People forget that, even though we're trying to outlet for our shitty lives, maybe, or, lives that aren't going too good right now, you can always remember where you come from, or where you came from. And remember that, the video games that we have are our outlet of escape, And so I feel like people need to remember that. Like a lot of people, they play like COD. Let me get my PS4 controller. Like they'll play COD or something, or they play some like game and they're like, "Oh, fucking faggot, this is that," and they have their headset on. They're like, "You fucking piece of shit, this and that." And I'm like, where's the love, man? Where is your spirit? Where has it gone? I see it a lot in videos. I see it on Twitter. People talk about it a lot in the news, and there's just this weird drama going on about games and like what's allowed, what's not allowed, what can we do, what can we show, and it's just stupid. I'm like, it's all fiction, right? Isn't it supposed to be an escape for reality? Isn't it supposed to be fun? Why are we doing all of this? This is not fun. I mean, just harken back to your days as a kid. Did you have fun playing Super Mario World and those kind of games like Mario Kart? And like freaking, Sonic, and like I don't know, Silent Hill, and freaking Resident Evil, and Ninja Turtles, and Prince of Persia, and like Ninja Gaiden. Like, did you have fun playing those games? Did it not offer you a way to relieve your stress? Yes, right. So let's not make stressful situations out of games. Let's keep it that way. Let's keep it so it doesn't stress us out. Let's keep it so that it's a way for us to release our inner selves, right? So just remember where you come from. Like, I had to remember where I came from to understand where I'm at, And I see all these things happening in the gaming media, and I'm like, we're going the wrong way, man. Like, everything was simple back then. Like, didn't take much, it just took a little bit of things. Like, just give me a controller, give me a couple buttons, give me a game, a platform, or anything, and that was it. They had the formula right back then. Nowadays, you gotta be super keen on the graphics. Everything's gotta be perfect. The score's gotta be just right. And I'm just like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, a lot of people are focused on graphics, but I think that's this generation or the previous generations of, I don't know, numbskulls or something like that. It's like us people that really just want to experience it. It's like it's like reading a book. You know, you don't need much. You just need the details of what's going on, the story, and you just play it. You know, you invent the story in your head. You know, it's like the same thing. Like, let's take a game like Final Fantasy VI, for example. You know, the graphics weren't great. I mean, it had the Mode 7 thing that was announced back then. That was, like, such a big deal in the SNES days. But, like, honestly, I didn't care about that. Like, I barely even knew about the Mode 7. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just spinning. So it's showing me that it's spinning. You know, if anything, it just makes it so you imagine less about what's happening. Like, if you give me a wad of text or something, like those games that were text-based, and you tell me, oh, this such and such thing is happening at such and such forest, and I'm just imagining the forest. And I'm like, oh, crap, I can put the details how I see it. And I thought that was better. You know, I mean, obviously that's just my opinion, but, you know, I thought it was better when you had less things to illustrate that, you know. And nowadays everything has to be explained to you, and that's not cool. I don't think that's a good step, you know. It's better to have some things left to the imagination, you know. So, I think graphics, sure, it's important to a certain degree, but I say don't let it rule over your final thoughts on a game. You know, it shouldn't be dependent on graphics. It should be dependent, or it should be incumbent on everything else. You know, like, it should have the whole package be there. Like, sure, have some graphics, or graphics enough for you to recognize what's going on. Like, it's not that important that someone's nose isn't as detailed as, say, a PS2 game. Like, who cares? Are you going to be looking at that guy's nose for all eternity? No. You're going to look at it for a single second or frame, and you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, oh, okay, so, you know, that's a nose, you know? Does it have to have, like, every single, like, freckle and, like, blackhead for you to, like, be satisfied? Like, I just don't understand, you know what I mean? So, I don't think we should worry too much about that, you know? I mean, it's too much for me to expect change, but I really think that it's better to just ignore that kind of aspect and recognize that it is an aspect, but it's not the most important thing in the world, you know? Crap, I'm sweating over here. And so, let me end this because I'm actually, like, really sweating. So I honestly think, more importantly, you should focus on, like, the gameplay of a game, the story, you know, the characters. I think that's really good. More, you know, meaningful reasons to criticize the game, you know, not for its graphics or, you know, something like that, or anything really too arbitrary, like a character development that, like, you, at the end of the day, you have to realize that if a character doesn't progress the way you want them to, you know, that's not a bad thing. Like, let's say there was a lot of potential for a character to be, like, really cool, or, like, join the party, or, you know, not be an asshole or something like that, or be like an anti-hero kind of thing. Well, that's just your interpretation of what the story could have been. Remember, at the end of the day, it's not your story, it's the writers, and it's up to them. You know, I'm not saying you can't scrutinize the writer's decision, but just remember, like, you can scrutinize and say, I didn't really like that aspect, but don't demand change on something because it doesn't fit your bill. You know what I mean? Like, if the character didn't progress the way you saw, or you saw that there was less potential in the way that the writer did it, so what? It happened, you know? That's the way it is. Like, in our everyday life, everyone's trying to compare everything to real life, and, like, well, are you satisfied with what's going on out there? No. So don't try to be satisfied with everything that's going on in the game. I mean, it is what it is. You have to accept what is being written. You know what I mean? If it's the original story, unedited content, you have to respect that. You know, you have to respect that. So, I just feel people are too demanding, man. They're too needy. They're too needy. And if anyone knows anything about relationships, that's what kills relationships. Being too needy and being too aggressive on something. And that's what gamers are doing to developers. They're too needy, they're too demanding, they're too bitchy about things. And that's not a good step. Like, in the future, I foresee, like, the game development or the gaming franchises, you know, shutting down because of that simple, you know, aspect. It's like, oh, they want too much and now we can't even be satisfied. They don't even know what they want. This is why I say gamers don't need to have too much of a voice in something. You give them too much power, it's over. Think back to our days in history in the U.S. You know, they didn't want to give the banks power because they knew that the banks had too much power. They control the world. I mean, Alexander Hamilton. I mean, look at what he did. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's that kind of stuff. You gotta have a nice balance between things, you know, and you have to really be understanding. I feel like I'm lecturing people. Like, I don't want to lecture. I'm not no professor, you know. I'm just giving you my 2 cents, you know. I'm going to deposit my 2 cents right there, you know. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide what it is that I meant, you know. Interpret it however you want to. And, you know, if you want, tell me what you think. Tell me your side of the story. I like reading about people's stories. Like, there's nothing that entertains me more than reading about someone's background, where they come from, and why they are the way they are, you know. So, I kind of cut that a little short, and that's because I can't stand this heat right now. It's really hot, but I honestly just want us to have a discussion about things. So, this will be the first discussion of many, hopefully, and probably. And I want to talk about like the origin of where one's character comes from video games. Like, how did this impact your life? What was the first game that really made you like think outside and, you know, help you to develop yourself further? You know, why you appreciative of games? You know, do you agree what I said about like the current generation of gamers being a little too needy and how we need to back off, or make it at least a little more known to back off a little bit from developers? You know, do you agree with that, or you think I'm just, you know, a little too old school, too old fashioned, or a little too like reserved in that matter? I need to be a little more like liberal with my thinking. I don't know. You guys tell me. I'll consider everything that you guys have to say, as always. And I hope you enjoyed. So thank you for watching, y'all. Please, you know, spread the video around if you want to have some more interaction and attention. You know, we could talk about stuff. I would be A-okay with talking with more people, even people I don't know, about these kind of things. I feel like that's the purpose of this, is to outreach, you know what I'm saying? And I want to really get involved in conversations on this channel, because I feel like a lot of it is, the way I see it is that there's me, and there's the people behind me that are just watching me play let's play a game, and I'm talking to everyone, but they're not listening, or they're like not wanting them to respond. You know, that's how I feel. It's like I'm talking, but there's no response. So if we're not gonna talk during the game, let me hit pause real quick and let me turn it on and talk to y'all. That's what this is. You know, I just want to talk a little bit. I don't want to feel like I'm doing this for nobody, you know, for no reason. Even though I would do it for nobody anyway, but you know, it's better to have a little more response. That way, it gives me something to really look forward to when I'm making a video. You know what I mean? So, thank you guys once again for watching. If you stuck around this whole way. I don't know how long this thing is. It's, 37 minutes. So, thanks for sticking around for 37, maybe 38 minutes. So, yeah, leave me your comments below. Rate the video however you see fit. Some of you want to see more of this kind of content. You know, the same old nonsense. And I'll see you on the next video, which will probably be uploaded later today. Probably Skyward Sword or Romancing Saga, because I have both. So, anyway, peace out and keep it styling, y'all.